Remember, knowledge, it ain't free. You got to pay attention and don't believe the hype.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
For some, they say it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. For us, it's about potential financial opportunities. Never bring a knife to a gunfight, and make no mistake, big money is up for grabs and this is a fight. Never settle for second best. The Past the Wire annual Kentucky Derby seminar. Nobody does it better. Preparation is key. Be better prepared, delve deeper, stealth. They won't see us coming and they won't know we're there. Money management, ticket structure, pace, all the intangibles, thoroughgraph, everything that matters to make it count, to have that edge. In the end, if things go as planned, it'll be like we stole the money.
Hey, Sure Bet Coffee. Put that giddy up in your cup. That giddy up in your cup. Sure Bet Coffee.
There's a lot of ways to handicap a horse race and a lot of ways to bet on it. But nobody that I know does it like Geo and his full card, precise order handicap. Every horse in the race gets a predicted order of finish like only Geo can do, way beyond a deep dive, available exclusively on select days at Past the Wire. Himself, Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie, tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, presented by Am Wager.
Tracking trips at Past the Wire. There is no better time than now to join and ride with this clan. We'll be your second set of expert trained eyes. We ain't gonna buy you a fish. Sure, we'll give you some, but more importantly, we'll show you how to fish and make you a better better. CAWs, sharks in the water, no problem. We'll go against anybody, and we have the track record to prove it. Big days, big pools, and select days all year long. We'll outplay them all. Looking for an ace? You're in the right place. Want to find that diamond? Be with us. Want to know more? Just ask a member or visit us at pastthewire.com and check out the tracking trips page. Nobody does it better. Ciao tutti.
What's up there, everybody? Welcome back. Ciao.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, John?
I'm okay. You know, it's really that time of year now. What are we? A little over 60 days out from the Kentucky Derby. So we'll start with a little Kentucky Derby radar. This is a big week for my Kentucky Derby radar. Last week should have been a big week for your Kentucky Derby radar. You killed him anyway at Oakland Park. I didn't. You did. But your big horse Bullard didn't run.
Yeah, you know what? And it's concerning to me and it's disappointing to me because especially the way how that race ultimately panned out, I felt Bullard with that pace would have made a big run. And, you know, right now I'm still high on Bullard and I will be. I'm a little concerned because he doesn't have that race and he's probably going to go right to either the Bluegrass at Keeneland or the Santa Anita Derby. And if he does, he runs big and then he'll be right for the Kentucky Derby. But it's concerning to me. So
Yeah, anytime you got a blip on the radar heading into the Derby, it's a concern. You want everything to go as smooth as possible. Big weekend for me because out west, the horse that's been the top horse on my Derby radar, Journalism, will run in the San Felipe, and we're going to deep dive the Fountain of Youth into San Felipe. And, you know, we're not going to deep dive the Gotham because just 3 races is too much. But McAfee, a horse who's kind of, you know, was on the fringes of my Derby radar, runs into Gotham, which I think is an interesting spot for Dutrow to bring that horse back. I don't think he would be bringing him back there if he wasn't looking for and expecting a big race. So I'm very, very excited to see McAfee run. He's got to be 2 undefeated New York breds in there. He'll be about 10-1. So he, you know, he's not one of the horses that a lot of people have their eye on going in, but I do, and I'm very curious to see how he runs and to see if he's a horse I should watch, you know, coming out of the race. Now, Journalism, we'll talk more about when we do the race, but Journalism, you know, if you remember last year, from before November, Sierra Leone was my Derby horse. Very rarely do I lock in on one horse and ride him all the way till the first Saturday in May. Everything changes. But it's funny that this year, the same thing kind of happened to me. I became enamored with Journalism as a Derby type horse, and nothing has happened to derail me. Now, he did also get sick and miss some time, but he's got time for the San Felipe, which we'll talk about, and he's got time for another prep after that, which I assume is the Santa Anita Derby. So he'll be going in 3rd start if he makes it and all goes well, and I guess that's okay. But big weekend for Derby radar for me. Nobody in the Arkansas Derby made their way to my radar last weekend on Sunday. But the horse,
the Rebel, not the Arkansas, the Rebel.
The Rebel, right. But Bob Baffert, the horse that he ran on the undercard, the maiden, Cornucopian, who I put on tracking trips, not only is this horse probably going to win, he's probably going to run back in the Arkansas Derby. Well, that may have sounded ridiculous Sunday morning. I don't know that it's so ridiculous right now, is it?
Yeah, that colt was very impressive on Rebel Day. He looked poised, powerful, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised after that maiden win that he runs back in the Arkansas Derby. By the way, I had to mention another horse that's on my radar that'll be inclusive with our deep dive because I made a futures bet on him. I am
Bill Mott's horse.
Correct. Sovereignty, I think this is a very, very important week for that horse, making his first start at 3. We're going to get into it with the deep dive, but he is second on my radar, but I'm still very high on Bullard, but cautiously optimistic because of that fever, and I don't know where he's going to land next.
You know, interesting, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the races, but Journalism and Sovereignty have something very much in common this weekend, in my opinion, that we'll cover when we talk about the races. So not a lot changing for me on the Derby radar scale, and it looks like not a lot changing for you.
Correct. And much to be determined. Remember, the points, it's nice to monitor the points that have been tabulated already, but you know how often that drastically changes. The leaderboard.
Right. Why don't we start with the San Felipe? We'll start out west. Mile and the 16th, Santa Anita. Bob's got the horse on the rail, Mellencamp. I'll let you go first on this horse so I could lead off with Journalism, the next horse, because he's he's the one that's on top of my list. So why don't you start with Mellencamp?
Okay, so we are going a mile and a 16th. All right. I wish it was a bigger field. It's not. It's a 6-horse field. And one of the things I mentioned to you offline, John, you know, there's a lot of horses in this race that you can make an argument for. And what I did was, as I was going through my cap, I said to myself, you know what? Bob's in control here. I have to know what Bob Baffert is thinking in terms of how is the race going to unfold? How does he want the race? What's his instructions to Mike Smith, to J.J. Hernandez, and to Flavian Pratt? Because ultimately, that's going to determine the race dynamic, especially to the first turn and through the first half. Okay? Because there's some fast horses he's got in this race. But let me start off with our deep dive on the 1. I like the fact that they're going to Mike Smith in his spot for Mellencamp. It is a $775,000 son of Bayern. If you remember, Bayern was a very fast half, I believe, a very fast horse.
No, he's out of a Bayern mare. He's a son of Constitution.
Yeah, excuse me. That's what I meant to say. Good correction. Son of Constitution out of a Bayern mare. I like the pedigree. Very expensive son of Constitution. I still think that this horse is on the improve. And I tell you the truth, because I didn't know which one of Bob's horses was going to go out and seize the lead, I listed Mellencamp in my cap as a contender underneath. It's not likely that he'll pull off an upset here, but I thought he was an intriguing proposition underneath because the way he's working, I see him going forward from his last. And if he goes forward from his last, it puts him in the mix here. That's my thoughts on Mellencamp.
Okay. I think the best thing I could say about Mellencamp's chances to win the San Felipe are we've seen Bob Baffert win with the 3rd and 4th horse many times. You know, the other Baffert wins plenty of times. I don't think that this one is up to par with some of the others in here. If he wins, he would be a surprise to me. I mean, you know, Bob's horses improved leaps and bounds. I hate to toss one of his horses, but I don't think this is the one that's going to be on the lead. I don't think this one is as good as a couple of the others. And you know, I can't get to him in here, but he's on the rail. And like I said, Bob winning any Derby prep just doesn't surprise me. But
let me ask you a question, John, because you have a lot of experience literally talking with Bob and handicapping a lot of Bob's horses over a course of many, many years. This horse is still a maiden. He's got the 2 races over the track. He's raced with journalism several times. My point I'm making in here is Bob using the 1 tactically and putting Smith on almost as a potential setup proposition, knowing he's got Barnes and he's got Rodriguez, 2 very fast colts?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't run horses, to my knowledge and experience, where he doesn't think they could win and where they haven't, you know, in his opinion, deserved a chance.
Okay, so I think he will improve, and I don't think he's going to be good enough to beat the likes of Barnes and Rodriguez, but I have him as a threatening presence, especially underneath in this race. I certainly like him a lot more than the 2 bottom horses.
All right. He does come off Lasix too. He went on Lasix and now comes off it. So that's a little bit of a knock, not that much. But moving right along, journalism.
That's your lead.
You know, since I first saw this horse when he ran 3rd to Smooth Cruising and Mellencamp, I felt he wanted to stretch out. He's by Curlin out of Moppetism, who was a nice stakes mare, nice stakes filly for Doug O'Neill, I believe. She was by Uncle Mo. The horse is bred to be anything. He just had, to me, Derby type horse written all over him. Stretched out, broke his maiden at Del Mar, 2-turn mile, comes back, runs down getaway car in that long Los Al stretch. I think that was a great foundation building race. Loved him that day. I thought 5-2 was stealing money. Uh, beat getaway car and gaming, two solid horses, and the beautiful thing for him, I don't necessarily think he is going to or has to win on Saturday. I think they're in a beautiful spot coming off the layoff. Small field, fast horses. I don't know that you want to kill yourself on Saturday, making sure you stay close to Barnes and chasing a hot pace and being close enough to know you got a shot to run him down when you could just, drop back. Umberto could let the race unfold, make his run a little wide, or maybe go inside in between horses, get him some education, get him some dirt in the face, come out of this race ready to go forward in the Santa Anita Derby, and then go forward again in the Kentucky Derby. So I think he's in a great spot. I think that he's probably not going to win on Saturday, but I'm not looking for him to. For my Derby radar purposes, I want to see him get a race that he's going to get something out of. It doesn't really set up good for him to win on Saturday, and I hate for them to gut him trying to do that. So I think it's a perfect spot, perfect scenario, perfect setup. Doesn't win, fall off a lot of people's radar that he may be on because everybody wants the winners. So I love him being in there, but he's not where I land on Saturday. But I will be watching him close to make sure he's still, he could lose and still be my top horse for the Derby coming out of there.
Okay, interesting, John. Very interesting, because I have a similar thought, because, well built, love his pedigree, as you just shared, $825,000 son of Curlin. First started 3. I, too, had a big liking to his stretch run at Los Al over there. And I agree with you in a lot of ways. In this race, matched up with all that Bob Baffert speed, this may not be the race for him to go all out and run a big, big, big number, especially because they're targeting the likeliness of the Santa Anita Derby, right? So he stays out west. I think he will come, but the race dynamic. I don't think Bob's going to have Barnes and Rodriguez in an all-out tussle where you're going to see a ridiculous half in the 44 range or 45 range. I don't anticipate that. So you will see journalism make his run, but I do agree with you here. I don't land on journalism. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs third, a solid third, or a strong second, but winning is really not the main idea. Now, if he gets up and he beats these horses without his best, then you really have a killer on the Derby trial. So he should run well, first at 3. I didn't land on him on top. I'm going to use him in a pretty strong triple play, but I didn't land on him either.
Okay. I just want to look at something. Yeah, go ahead. Lead. I'm just.
No, what were you going to say? If you have an additional comment on journalism, go ahead.
I'm trying to look something up to see.
And by the way, back to Mellencamp. I know we went over him already. The fact that he's in this race as a maiden and he's been showing improvement, and he was, ambitiously placed in a grade 2. Then he went back and ran in that another special weight and didn't get it done. He's back here in another grade 2. He's going to improve. That's what makes the race intriguing in terms of his position in this race.
I agree. All right, you can start with the next one.
Okay.
All I was really going to say is that, in my opinion, Barnes is the fastest horse, and if he wants the lead, he gets it.
Okay.
I think the speed is either going to be him or, believe it or not, Berlin Wall on the outside.
Okay, well, so I'll begin with Barnes because that's who I land on this race. And I'm going to bet Barnes. I'm going to bet Barnes because obviously the price tag is probably the most intriguing thing about this guy. $3,200,000 and into mischief and out of an American Pharaoh mare. That's why he got such a monster price on him at $3.2 million. First race at 2 turns. We all know what happened in debut, and the horse still won. But in this race, Bob and his connections, this has to be the race, even though he's got 2 sharp horses from the same stable, this has to be the race that he wants to show, especially going 2 turns for the first time, what this horse is really made of. And so that's why I don't see in any capacity Barnes throwing up a dud here. And not that he's playing favorites, because he doesn't work that way, but the star of his stable, even though Mellencamp and Rodriguez, especially Rodriguez, we're going to get into Rod, are really nice colts, fast colts. Barnes, this is Barnes' time to shine. First time going 2 turns. I like him. I think he sits a good trip. He is the fastest horse. Even though Rodriguez has a faster race, I see him winning this race, going away with a fast closing journalism running second in this race.
I really, I wish I could get contrarian or creative or something, but I kind of see it the same way. I think he could go right to the lead. I also think he might be able to sit off a horse if somebody else goes. But I think he's the fastest horse. I think at a mile and a 16th, he's going to be extremely tough to beat. He's got those patented 112 workouts that when you see with Baffert, they're just, tough. 58. I mean, his workouts are, ridiculous. So, he's even money in a small field. He's no price, but hard to get past, in my opinion. Hard to get past.
It is, and that's why I couldn't. And, if you're strategic in this race and you really have a vision as to who's going to be the likely second and third, could be a spot to play a nice sizable exact or a triple, or just enjoy him and use him as a single in your multiples.
Rodriguez. I guess he's the other Bob instead of the other Bob. So he's the second Bob. Nice colt, really a nice colt. Has a world of potential. Tends to have a little bit more of a sprinting type pedigree, but the Authentics, Authentic got the mile and a quarter twice. He's improving. He's got those nice 2 first races, then goes right into the Lewis. Legitimate second choice. I could see where people would land on him before they land on journalism, and I wouldn't argue with that on Saturday. I will argue with that on the first Saturday in May, but not necessarily this Saturday. But I like him. I don't like him as much as Barnes on Saturday, but he'd certainly be no surprise with Pratt. Especially if Barnes doesn't show up or doesn't handle the 2 turns or mile and the 16th.
Let me tell you something. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish first.
I'm done.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to be the speed. I think one of the horses coming out of the sprints will be the speed. But
well, I'm going to bring something up that I thought you were just about to bring up, so I was going to give you a chance to bring up. You know how you want the continuity of jockey and racehorse leading up to the Kentucky Derby or the Santa Anita Derby with the Kentucky Derby. Bob Baffert has J.J. Hernandez on Bonds. So he comes off Rodriguez onto Bonds. Rodriguez impressed the hell out of me in race review. And Flavien Prat is who he is. He's an elite rider. And, but that's what was very telling to me, that Hernandez is with Bonds in this spot in the San Felipe, and he didn't stay on Rodriguez. But Rodriguez in debut showed me a tremendous amount of fight for his first start. And then he just drew off and just dominated his with a 100 buyer in his second start. His last time in the RB Lewis, I thought it was a nice race for him, second to Citizens Bull. You know the success that Citizens Bull has had. But yes, in this spot, stablemate here, nice colt. I just think his path through his last two, and that J.J. Hernandez is off him and on to Bonds. I see him running third or fourth in this race. I like Bonds, and I think Journalism is going to be a fast closing second. And Mike Smith's horse may even run third with Rodriguez fourth.
All right, smooth cruising. You give him any shot at all?
John, you know what? No. I made this a 4-horse field. I gave some respect, which we'll get into the bottom horse. I don't think this horse can be competitive in this race, the 5. He's a horse for me.
I agree. Berlin Wall.
Berlin Wall, Calbred. I was interested in one thing about him, that he's coming into this race off a disqualification win. I like Steve Knapp's stable. It is a practical joke. I think this horse will improve, but he just appears to be overmatched in this spot as well. Pace factor at best.
Okay. I agree. I think it's him or Barnes, the two coming out of the sprints as far as who's on the lead. Neither one would surprise me being on the lead, but he would certainly surprise me should he win the race.
Absolutely. And for our viewers that like my precise, it's not a big field. It's rather easy. I'm on Bonds over Journalism, and I'm using Mike Smith Mellencamp for third and Rodriguez perhaps in another triple as a saver, but that's how I land, and I'm sticking to it. If I'm playing a super, it's 3-2-1-4, and if I play exactas, it's 3-2-3-1.
Okay. I guess we're heading back to my neck of the woods, South Florida, or my current neck of the woods, the Fountain of Youth. Why don't I start with Gate to Wire so you could start with Sovereignty, who I know is very high on your list. You know, Gate to Wire tries the dirt for the first time in the swale, goes off 13-1, which is a rare for Pletcher at Gulfstream Park. You know, he always gets attention, and really, in my opinion, dominated. What was in there, I'm not so sure. You know, I wasn't high on Gunmetal or really any of those other horses. But you know, this horse really ran nice, and he's got, in my opinion, a very good tactical situation in here, because I think he's going to be in front of the two deep closers and get the jump on them, but able to sit just off the speed on the rail. That makes him dangerous. He's got to go 2 turns. He's got the rail. It's Pletcher. I'm going to call him a major contender, and I don't think he's necessarily going to regress off that big race first time dirt, because he just may love the dirt. You know, that just may be what he's all about. And that may be, around what he's capable of doing on the dirt right now. So my book, Gate to Wire, major player in here.
All right, interesting. I'm going to touch on a couple of things that you had shared with, but my view on him, whenever you see a horse running like he had as a juvenile, slowly sprinting on the lawn, traveled well, Saratoga to Aqueduct to Del Mar, then puzzling to me that instead of running his first start as a 3-year-old on the turf, they put him on a synthetic. Yes, didn't take in money last time and just trounced that field first time on the soil, on the dirt. And a very impressive look to him, too. So, and he ran that big number. However, I do see him as a strong pace factor. Do I think he has a career stretching out? Yeah. But in this particular race, in this field, the fact that he's stretching out as he is for the first time, second race on the dirt, and we know that Todd doesn't overwork his horses in workouts. So I wasn't really concerned that his workouts were just, nothing to write home about. They're steady, but nothing to write home about. I just think he's going to be a pace factor, but when the real running is deep and dirty in the stretch, post the 8th pole, I think he's going to falter. And if I'm going to use Gate to Wire, it's probably going to be in my deeper superfecta wages.
Okay. Sovereignty.
All right, let me start off with my boy here. All right. And by the way, and I have lots of respect for you, John, because you are so high on journalism, yet you didn't take him in the race that we just went over. Just as I am very high on this horse. This horse is number 2 on my radar underneath Bullwood for the Kentucky Derby. However, I do like him in this spot. Okay? First started 3. It is a short stretch at Gulfstream, which it made me dig down a little deeper here, because sometimes to make up a significant amount of ground in the Gulfstream in the stretch, it's not as easy. But, it's Godolphin Blue. I think Belmont's got a real solid Derby horse here. Much like Bob wants to show what Barnes is made out of, I think in this spot, the fact that the field was 8 horses, now it's reduced to 7. We're going to go over the horse that's out, who ran at Gulfstream today, later on. So it's a 7-horse field. I believe there will be a good amount of pace in this race, maybe too much pace. And the way this colt closed at Churchill Downs in his last, to me, it was an eye-opening experience, a real wow moment. He's training very well in my eyes. He's proven at the distance. I think not only does he go forward from that race, first started 3, I think he makes a big impression here and runs them all down in a stretch. I like this horse on top, and I have a couple who I'm going to list as contenders, but I am not. He's a single for me in this race.
Wow, interesting. Similar to journalism, here's what I was alluding to when we started the show. I think he's in a very unique position where, like journalism, he doesn't have to win to come out of this race and be the horse I'm looking at going into the Kentucky Derby. Reason being, it's his first start back. It's Gulfstream Park, short stretch. You got 2 Pletches in there. That track plays very speed friendly, especially on the big days when it gets really, really fast. It's hard to go wide and make up a lot of ground, which is probably what he's going to have to do. It does happen. We've seen it happen. And Junior Alvarado happens to be one of the better guys at doing that, in my opinion. But do I want to bet him at a short price off a layoff to have to overcome that? Probably not. I almost landed on him, and I will not be surprised if he wins the race. But I'm going to take a little bit of a stand against him on Saturday, knowing that, he's the one I'm watching to see, hey, do I got to really pay attention to this horse come Derby Day? Or is he one that I, don't have to pay that close attention to? And I think we'll find a lot of that out on Saturday, depending on how he runs. But he, like journalism, can very easily not win, run second or third, but after the race, me saying, you know what? Everybody wants this one or that one, No. I like Mott's horse, the Godolphin horse, going forward. So that's kind of how I look at him.
One thing I want to talk, good follow-up. I appreciate everything you just shared. You talked about price. In my opinion, River Thames and Burnham Square, who we're going to get into, they're going to get the money. So the two, my horse, may be dismissed at 7-2, 3-1 in this field. And that's what's really intriguing to me, because I know where the public's going to. And by the way, I don't have morning lines on here. Have they been published yet? I did my capping without them. So I don't even know what the morning line is.
3-1 on the morning line.
He is 3-1 the morning line? Okay. All right. Well, I got nothing else to say. Listen to me. The impression, I told you guys who are viewers of this channel, when I get a wow, then I'm overly impressed with a horse. I couldn't wait for this horse to make his 3-year-old debut. And I think he puts on a big show at Gulfstream Park. Granted, it is a short stretch. I just think the race is going to set up for him to make a big run, because there's a lot of speed up front.
There is a lot of speed. That does help. There's a lot of speed. All right, Burnham Square. 5-2 on the morning line. Might wind up favored. River Thames might wind up favored. Probably River Thames. Burnham Square, 2 for 2 at Gulfstream. All the speed in the race is definitely going to help him as well. I'm not sold. He's got 2 nice races over the track, 2 open wins. I'm not sold. I'm not enamored with who he beat. I'm not wild about the fact they ran him for a tag first time out, even though who was going to claim him for $150,000? Probably nobody, but you never know. But if he was all that good, gelding and all, why would they risk him for a tag that early in his career? I mean, I don't know. I'm just not sold. If he wins, he wins. He wins without me.
Interesting. Okay, John. Let me tell you something. Some similar thoughts I have. He did make my handicap. I will not use him in my multiples, but I think he will come in a stretch. I believe there's some versatility to this guy. He is a gelding, so he's not going to open up the eyes of, many Derby followers in terms of him being a prize for the future, in terms of what he'll become as a sire, because he never will be a sire. His 2 races at Gulfstream, you can't really dismiss him. They were, the Holy Bull was an impressive showing. But in that race, I felt like he was very impressive. And I don't know if he could take a step forward from that race. I don't know if he's going to be a high 90s buyer guy, or somebody that's going to tilt the scale on the thoroughgraph and put together a negative number. So I, like you, I feel he's a nice horse. It's a good story with Ian Wilkes. I like the guy. Coming into this race, he's going to take in a lot of money. He is 3 for 3 at the distance, so I don't have a reservation about the distance. I think he will make his run. I like his versatility. He doesn't have to be well back. He could be tactical. I don't think he'll be on the lead or near the lead. I think he'll be sitting 3rd, 4th, or 5th mid-pack. But I just think my 2-horse, Sovereignty, is going to pass him rather easily in the stretch. So I don't like him to win. I have him as my third choice in this field in my precise order.
Okay. McKellen. I'll take McKellen. Sneaky, dangerous horse, in my opinion. First time out, goes a mile at Gulfstream over the track and wins. Not easy to go a mile first time out and win. Come back, run second to Disco Time at Churchill Downs. Disco Time comes out of that race, wins the stake at the fairgrounds, I believe. Okay, one of the
The Lacan,
highly regarded Derby horses. Totally flops in the Mucho Macho Man at 4-1, close to 5-1, 470 to $1. I don't know what happened that day. I don't know if there's a legit excuse. I don't know if there isn't a legit excuse. Watch the replay. Don't know what happened, but he's working well. Tyler Gaffleone rides him, and I make him a very, very dangerous long shot. He would absolutely be a contender, a little light on the buyers, but I'm not a big buyer guy. But, if he never ran in the Mucho Macho Man and just ran those 2-mile races at Gulfstream and Churchill Downs, you'd be hard-pressed to say he doesn't have a shot here. So if there was a legit excuse that day, I'm thinking that there could have been, because why else would Jose run him back here? So I think he's a dangerous long shot. And, pick fours, pick fives, things like that, absolutely, he'd be on my ticket.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think on the same level as you as being a dangerous long shot on the win end. It is interesting, by the way, so you guys know, he was entered today at Gulfstream in a first level allowance race, and they scratched him.
Right.
So they scratched him today, and they're going to go in the Fountain of Youth. So when you go from first level allowance, scratch, we're going to run him in the Fountain of Youth, that's interesting. He does need to show and perform faster. He is a McKinsey. I think he needs to jump a few levels on the improvement scale. So I don't think he's going to be good enough to win. So I would be surprised if he pulled off a major upset. But could he be a fast closing third or fourth underneath? Yeah, I had him ranked 5th on my scale, which doesn't say a lot because it's only a 7-horse field now. But in the SETI precise order, he's 5th on my scale.
Okay. Solid Left is out, right?
Confirmed today. And I don't know the results of the day, but Solid Left ran in a first level allowance today. He is a 100% scratch. So you viewers, scratch him out of the Fountain of Youth.
Okay. River Thames. You want to start with him?
Yes, I will. I'll start with River Thames. I think it's River Thames. It's a funny name.
It is River Thames. I never say it right.
Yeah. So listen, this horse is dangerous. He became my second choice under my winner from Belmonte, who I think is going to run them all down. But what's really intriguing about this horse, lightning fast buyers for a horse running in a maiden special and then stretching out to the mile. Now going 2 turns. Obviously, you have to trust Johnny V in this spot. Back up for Todd. When a horse runs that fast on debut and then sort of mirrors the effort, and now he's going here against other seasoned horses who could be on the cusp of winning. Remember when I was talking to you about the pace dynamic and a lot of speed up front? This guy is probably going to be the remaining survivor of the speed. And if he does, the vision I have is Sovereignty, my 2, passing them all, and River Thames lasting to fill the exacta.
All right. I kind of lean to River Thames here. He's 2 for 2 over the track. Both races, he was right on the pace, but not on the lead, so he could sit right off somebody. He's going to be in front of Mott's horse with Junior Alvarado, get the jump on him. I think he's the one turning for home on that short stretch Gulfstream turn that takes the lead with Johnny, tries to put it away right then and there, and I think Johnny will time it right and get him home.
Wow, so we have a similar vision. I have River Thames leading in the stretch, surviving the fast pace, but Sorrenti passing them all, making my exacta. So do you feel that, are you going to reverse exacta from my exacta? Or do you feel like he's not going to have enough to be second?
No, I don't reverse exactas. You know that. I'm probably not playing any exactas in this race. If I play anything, it's going to be a pick 5.
So the question I have for you, do you land on River Thames as a single, or do you respect Mott's horse to be used in your multiples on a very big pick 5 day?
I'm going to bet against Mott's horse, but I know he can win. He will not surprise me if he wins. I know he's going to be coming. Okay. But I'm going to play the track the way I see it, and I probably would use River Thames and that bomb Mellencamp that I think is sneaky dangerous.
All right, interesting, because I have a sneaky dangerous horse that I'm going to talk about we haven't gotten to yet.
Okay. Now, we got to give a shout out to Neo Equus, Safi Joseph's horse, Florida bred, running in open company, because he's by none other than Neolithic, who is one of our sponsors of the show. And Neolithic has 3 horses running in 3 different stakes, including the Fountain of Youth on Saturday. So that's exciting news for Pleasant Acres Stallions. So we're rooting for them, even though we may not be betting on them. I'll start with him if you want.
Yeah, please do.
Speed. I think he's part of the speed. I mean, he's going to have his work cut out for him because he's not going to be on a lead by himself. He goes back off Lasix. He does get IRAD. That'll get some attention. It is Safi. That'll get some attention. But I think he's got some quality speed to deal with early, and that's going to compromise his chances late.
We have very astute there, and we have a very similar analysis on him. Pace factor, speed, but, a Florida bred beating these horses. Yes, IRAD's on them, which is going to dilute the value that you should get on this horse. If Safi Joseph pulls this off, even with IRAD, I lose. This horse wins, I lose.
Understood. Keep it easy.
Keep it easy is, I'm going to begin with keep it easy because I gave this guy a very, very long look. Now, you've been watching the show and you know that I'm on Belmonte's horse to win, and he's my single. And then I talked about who's going to be in my exacta. This guy is the one horse who I feel is dangerous stretching out for Dale Romans. Now, Dale Romans in a lot of ways, and Dale, if you're watching somehow, I got to give you a shot in the arm because you've really been at a different level over the last year or so. Dale Romans is winning everywhere. His bond's been on fire. And look at his numbers over at Gulfstream Park as well. I think he's going to be one of the horses that's going to make his presence felt in the stretch, probably closing fast. I don't think he wants him on the lead. Corey Lannery is back up for a second time. He is stretching out to the 2 turns. If you look at that race, the Saratoga Special, it was just amazing that the horse actually came out of that race. It was a calamity and a half start. It was one of the ugliest starts you could imagine if you watched that race. So then he comes back months later in November and wins like the wind blows. So now he's making his first start at 3. This is a dangerous horse. Now, do I make a decision to use him in multiples? I'm probably not, because I don't think anybody's going to beat the 2. And I like River Thames, but this horse can definitely make your triple, your superfecta, and maybe even a second bet in your exactas. I think this horse could beat Burnham Square and run third or fourth in this race.
You know, he's got that like pattern that I hate. Bad race, good race. Bad race, good race. And he's coming up to potentially a bad race off the big win. I never liked that angle, you know. I don't know. You know, coming out of those sprints, I think if he runs good, he might, you know, be part of the pace. Uh, I doubt he's around at the finish line. Dale Romans can be dangerous at times, but I say prove it on a racetrack with this guy. I'm not on him at all.
Okay, but John, did you probably saw it? Did you see the after he broke his maiden, that grade 2 Saratoga Special? His start was, I mean, you got to completely put a line to the race.
I know, but then he run another clunker.
No, he come back a couple months later and he won.
Right, but he has 2 bad races on his form.
Yeah, his debut.
Right.
He has been up and down.
Not sold. Not
Okay.
sold. Now, a couple things, housekeeping before we wrap it up. I wish everybody that we could have come up with some bombs, but we got a small field in the Fountain of Youth. We got a small field in the San Felipe. Sometimes you got to play the hand and the cards that you dealt. Like Geo likes to say, he makes horses, not odds. You know, you got to find ways to get value, singling, cold exactas, whatever the case may be. If you're on those kind of horses, sometimes it happens, or sometimes, you know me, Geo doesn't do this. I'll pass the race if I don't like the odds. But that's that. So we got that. We do have a little bit of a price horse, 10-1, that I was looking at in the Gotham with McAfee. So we'll see what happens with him. Kentucky Derby seminar is up. We just put it up about 2-3 hours ago. It's on the website on pastthewire.com. We got about 7 or 8 seats sold right away. If you want to join. It's a lot of fun, and we try and do a lot of damage and cover a lot of ground. Geo, I think his next precise order handicap is going to be for the Tampa Bay Derby card, which I believe is next Saturday. We had a great interview that nice guy Eddie did yesterday with Dylan and Katie Davis together. So we've had Irad and Jose together. Now we had Dylan and Katie together. So we got brothers and sisters, brothers and brothers. So that's interesting. I'm sure Charles Trent and Race Lens are going to preview one of the late pick 5s. I don't know if he's doing California. I don't know if he's doing Aqueduct, and I don't know if he's doing Florida, but we know he's going to be doing something. So there'll be that up there as well. Plenty of stuff coming out. And Big Race Jim is doing his Sunday morning coffee wrap-up shows on Sunday mornings. So plenty to watch. Hit the like button. Show some love to the guys and gals at Past the Wire. Geo, anything to wrap it up?
Yeah, final thought as well. John, thank you for mentioning my full card precise order handicap. I'll probably get my past performances for the Tampa Bay Derby card on Sunday night. I'll be working with them probably for 4 full days, and I should have it all complete probably by Wednesday or Thursday. That Tampa Derby card is going to be a great card. Numerous stakes races, probably a half a dozen or more horse races on the turf. And just to give you a further preview, I'm going to be doing a full card precise handicap on the Louisiana Derby Day, which is 2 weeks after the Tampa Bay Derby over at the fairgrounds.
Sounds good. We've had a rough couple of weeks at tracking trips. I haven't exactly been on my best game, but that'll turn around. And we'll be covering all these races. I'll do a lot of work on the Saturday card at Gulfstream Park this week and at Santa Anita, because the Gulfstream Park card is outstanding. I don't know if you looked at any of the other races.
Yeah, you know,
but it's an outstanding card. An outstanding
fabulous
betting
card.
card,
14 races. I believe there's 10 stakes races, and the last 7 are all stakes. And
Love
folks, I apologize. I just ran out of real estate. This would normally be a card I'd love to tackle to do a full card precise handicap. I just didn't have the time this week. I couldn't do it. So that's my reason. But yeah, if you're engaged this weekend, the Gulfstream card on Saturday, Fountain of Youth card, is a great card to be involved in.
I agree. All right. I guess that's a wrap. Till next time.
Yeah, listen, everybody stay well. We'll see you around. And please like, subscribe, and comment with any thoughts you may have. We'd like to
let us know who you like in these 3 races, and we'll see what happens. So, ciao.
Ciao.
Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. Fast horse, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses.
His name is Cyberknife!
Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. He could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
Welcome to Pass the Wire TV, your #1 source for horse racing news and interviews, handicapping analysis, betting insights, and more. Pass the Wire TV covers the biggest races at the best tracks.
Garnet and Louise Sayed to win the Belmonte Stakes at Saratoga.
The Grey Wizard is absolutely flying. Champagne won. The Grey Wizard. Oh, it's very close. Leave it to the judge.
Like, share, and subscribe to Pass the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Blood. That makes you related. Loyalty. That makes you family. Nobody does it better.